All right, you feel an extreme level of nausea and struggle not to basically hurl as you are just slapped in the face by a wave of just rot. Like the odor in the closed tent is horrendous. And as you look around the room, you see a lot of men, um, all of whom are in some state of wounded, whether they had a limb amputated or simply some cuts that were stitched. But you could see just by easily looking that all of their wounds have turned black and have like little black tendrils and veins spreading further into their bodies, and they do not look good.
I look for the doctors.
All right, you do see Dr. Dietlev moving from cot to cot, administrating some sort of um, unguent to their wounds, but he looks very tired and very stressed.
Good doctor. Where is your... Was it his brother or cousin? Or friend? I can't remember. It's been
That
such a long time.
that is a matter of much speculation. It's believed they're brothers, but most people don't have the guts to ask them directly because they tend to answer in riddles. They seem to find a
Where,
lot of amusement out of it.
where is your brother?
He turns and raises an eyebrow and he says, "You're looking for Heinrich. He's not here. He's busy."
All right. Um, can you... I know you look extremely exhausted. What can I start stuttering. Is there something that I can do? Uh, or something I should stay away from?
Uh,
I am returned to camp
he
today, so
he gives you a pretty exhausted look and says, "Unless you've got some magical healing up your arse, or you have some mystical ability that can overwhelm everything that I've tried, then no, you can't help."
everything you have tried has failed.
He
I question.
his jaw sets, and he glares down at the ground as he sets the unguent down and starts wiping his hands and says, "Heinrich's gone out to look for more possibilities. Treatment's not working. Any
I
man who
will.
gets wounded, any man who's especially back in the Beastman scuffle, it hasn't been going well."
Has it been spreading to people who are not wounded?
He slowly nods and says, "Back in the village, a lot of sick in the village."
Have, have you spoken to that priestess?
He raises an eyebrow and says, "You talking about that antlered she-devil?"
Sure.
He rolls his eyes and says, "I don't need prayers and religious babbling to try and help my arts. I'm trying to perform science here."
I will nod and say, is there anything I can get you?
He looks around frowning and says, "We need more water. More water we can boil."
I will nod and leave.
All right, you step back out into the clean air, and although it's kind of uh still a little oppressive and musty, it's not nearly as bad as it was in there.
Um, I'll go straight to the well, and I want to test this water. Not like drink it or anything, but I want to see if it's been contaminated.
Okay. So you let a bucket down, and Rolf watches you. Rolf seems very interested in what you're doing all of a sudden. He kind of sits up straighter and starts watching you intently.
But yeah, I'll draw up water. Is it clear? Is it murky?
As you pull it up and you look into it, it looks clear.
Does it smell? Does it have any smell?
No?
Hmm. What are the rest of you doing while I'm walking around camp with sudden purpose?
So I assume we noticed you getting the water out of the well.
Well, when you went off into the tent, I was going to introduce Roland to Rolf to get him signed in, but
Yeah, he just said be right back. Everyone's being so quiet today.
Um,
well, I mean, that would put me next to you as you're doing this.
um, I will look at you, Wrist, if you come near, and say, when you get Roland situated, can you tell me the state of the pantry? And I will look
I get
at
a
you.
look of worry on my face. What do you mean, the state of the pantry? Do you think something's gone wrong?
I'm just checking my bases.
Hey, Ben, do you remember the name I gave to the halfling in the kitchen? Because I seem
Maple.
to miss. Oh, Maple. That's right.
Yeah, Maple and a cousin of mine.
Okay. Verdstat, what are you up to?
So I would have approached Verve when she started hauling the water out of the well, and would say, "Do you need any help cleaning that?"
You know what? Yes. Yes, I do. And I will look at you. You are actually perfect.
For cleaning water, I mean, I suppose.
Yes. Your fire magic, you can use. Cleanse the water, and I'll hand you the bucket.
All right. I will go someplace a little. No, I mean, where is discreet in this camp? Anywhere?
Not really in the camp. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some places you could get a little bit of privacy, but it would be very minimal.
I'm not looking for too much privacy, but just a little bit would be good. And I will start to chant a little bit and cast Purify Water on this.
Okay.
What would we call it? A bucket of water.
Okay. Roland is back, by the way.
All right. No.
The winds escape your grasp as the overwhelming amount of death magic just seems to make it so that the wind of actually is practically cut off from you.
So I'll shake the bucket of water and I'll look to Verve and I'll say, yeah,
You
the
can't
magic.
summon the winds either.
Apparently not. The water's not clean.
Well, let us find a fire that is not being used and get it going. The doctor needs it. And whatever you do, and I will look at everyone, do not go into that tent unless you want to hurl.
Just that will nod.
I'll just wait right here if that pleases you.
Oh, Sir Rolf. I had something to mention to you. I wait to see if I got his attention or not.
Oh, sorry. You said Rolf. His attention flicks from Verve to you, and he says, "And what can I do for you, halfling?"
I found someone who wanted to join up with you. Daft hand, pretty good in a fight.
He he nods and says, "As long as he's got 4 limbs, he's in. We're a little short
I
on
turn-
staff."
To Roland and check and count. There's a little strain as I get to 4. Yeah, he's got all 4 of them.
Roland looks up at you or sorry, Rolf looks up at you, Roland, and he squints his eyes and says, "Ah, a big lad."
Yep, I get it all the time.
He
I
nods.
sort of step up closer to him.
Oh, such a braggart, and I will wink at Rolf.
Rolf nods to you and says, "You know who we are? You know what we do, or do I need to lay it down for you?"
Bloody hounds, mercenaries, making sure that goblins stay in their place.
He nods and says, "Good enough. I'll get you a badge on the morrow. Pay comes out on the weekly. You might be given a more." Well, he looks at raises an eyebrow at Riz and says, "Well, if you're running around with this lot, I'm sure Otto will want to see you when he gets back. But for now, you work for me." He also jerks a thumb at the tents. It says, "Normally, we charge to sleep in the walls due to lack of space, but at least for the moment, that's not an issue. So enjoy that while it lasts."
I will look at you, Roland, and say, well, there you go. You're part of the Bloody Hounds.
Amazing. Where's the... What tents can I choose from, which don't have sick corpses in them?
He shrugs and says, "Check if someone's in there. If not, you're all good."
Alright, I'm just gonna check around.
Alright, you looking for anything particular?
Nothing dead, preferably no visible bodily fluids.
Alright, looking in the tents, those particular restrictions, notably the second one, proves extremely difficult to satisfy. But you do find one or two tents that appear dry and unsullied, at least anytime recently.
I will do with that.
Alright, Riz, you gonna go into the kitchen?
Oh yes, I hurry into the kitchen. Mabel, what's the state of the pantry? Is everything okay?
As you walk in, you do see the two halflings, Maple Shortbottom and Ferdinand Hayfield, though he prefers to go by Fred, who is a distant cousin of yours, working diligently at that night's dinner. Maple turns and he says, "Oh, blessed be Esmeralda, you're back.
Oh yes.
You left without saying a word, you foul cur."
Sorry, it was in a bit of a rush. I wasn't expecting to have to leave on a coach. Met up with Hugo.
He nods and says, "Ah, Hugo, bless him, keeps us well stationed here. He didn't send you back with anything for us, did he?"
I consider the bags he had us take, one of which I'm probably carrying. I look at it.
If you could read, you probably would be able to figure out which is for who.
Maple, do you know what this says on this bag? I sniff at it, though. I don't think it smells like food, though. One of the others must have it.
He walks over and looks through the couple bags you're holding and says, No, I'm afraid these are all for the wizard."
Oh, well, that will be difficult. You can't really chuck it in a window and leave it for him right now, can we?
He chuckles and says, "Actually, you could just leave it right outside his door. It'll get in."
Really? That's strange.
He nods and says, "That's where we leave his meals."
I thought he wasn't here.
He shrugs and says, "Well, somebody's been eating. In any event, are you going to be helping with tonight's dinner?"
Oh, if I can, I'd love to. I haven't had a good cook for a while.
He nods and says, "Stores have been good. We've been running a little low on meat due to the lack of people going out to hunt. But no one's been getting sick from the food, I could tell you that."
I nod as if, how would they get sick with the food?
Ferdinand sourly mumbles something, but you don't quite catch what he says.
Sorry, what was that, cousin?
He looks around alarmedly as if he wasn't expecting you to really notice, and he says, "Oh, nothing. I was just... well, some people have been accused, and Maple looks at him and says, "Now, don't you start bringing up foul rumors. That's just ill-begotten to bring up such a things in a kitchen. Ruins the sanctity of the meal."
Ah, well, the long legs are always complaining about everything.
They both do nod at this.
I'll go drop this off on the steps and rush over to see if any of the others have anything for the larder.
Maple nods and says, "All right then, see you in a minute."
I look around and see if I can see anyone in the camp.
You see many people.
Of my companions who have what could be the food.
You do see Verve and Vertstadt, who have some of the supplies. And Roland... Roland, where would you have left the stuff you were carrying?
Likely around the front of the tower door.
Okay.
I would have just put it down while leaning against the wall.
Okay, duly noted.
Verve! Vertstadt! Do any of you have the bags with food? This is all for Otto. Apparently he'll pick it up if we leave it on the step.
You'll pick it up.
Yeah, like his food.
Like his food.
Yep, leave his food on the steps and in the morning it's gone.
Like as in the whole plate is gone, or just the food is gone?
I'm sure there'd be a complaint if the plate was gone too. Though, I don't know. I didn't bother to ask. The foods are getting eaten and that's what's important.
But that doesn't mean it's being eaten by Otto.
Well, I mean, if you really care, you can watch to see what happens to it. But more importantly, you big jobs who can read, which bag has all the food?
I look at the bags.
Yep.
Or just don't leave food if you don't know who it's going to.
Vertstadt, 2 of the large bags you are holding seem to be noted for the pantry.
Alright, I hand them to Wrist. I say, I believe these are the bags you're looking for.
They are
Oh, thank you.
comically
buckle
large
under their
being
weight.
held. Yeah, they are comically large being held by Wrist.
Alright, okay. I will, say, I'll help carry these over to the pantry with you.
Oh, thank you very much, Vertstadt.
I'll take whatever bags are left to the door of Otto.
Well, are they all for Otto?
Yes.
They might be.
They're all marked for Otto.
Right, well, maybe if you wait, you can catch him when he comes out to grab them.
That was my idea, yes.
Alright, you're just gonna place him outside the front door?
I'm going to knock and say, Lord Otto, we have brought your stuff. Hugo sends his regards. And I will sit down at the door and wait.
Okay. Are you, like, sitting next to the stuff?
Yep.
Okay. There is no response.
If he takes it, he's taking me with it.
Verve climbs to a bag.
Alright, so, Vertstadt, you help the halfling take the food back into the kitchen. And as you walk in, you smell all sorts of savory smells as they've started boiling potatoes and they've got meat over a roaring fire, and they are busy working on stews and sides and making sure that the camp will be well taken care of. Maple turns as the 2 of you enters and he says, "Ah, that looks like what we're missing."
Oh, good to know we got it.
He gestures to Fred, who nods and quickly comes over and takes the bags. He's a little bigger than you, Wrist, and surprisingly hefty or strong for a halfling, is able to carry the 2 of them back into the proper storage portion. And Maple puts his arms on his hips as he turns to the 2 of you standing on his stool so he can reach the cooking pot and says, "Well then, who's this with you, Wrist?"
Ah, this is Vertstadt. Vertstadt, this is Maple. Runs the kitchens. All the good food you've been eating when you're here. This is where it comes from.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Maple.
He squints at you, Vertstadt. He goes, I know you. I've heard about you.
You have?
He nods and says, well, of course. You think when Risk comes in here and helps us cook, we just sit here doling out in silence like it's some kind of Morite funeral? No, we talk about all sorts of things. He says you're the best barterer in Jedburgh.
I give him a huge grin.
I see. Well, it's not exactly the truth, but yeah.
The mirth in the halfling's eyes gives you a very strong sense that he knows exactly what the truth is. And
Fair enough.
he looks back and forth on the two of you and says, well, if that'll be all, I do need to get back to my work.
I believe I was just here to drop off the bag, so that'll be all from me.
He bows and says, we'll see you around, Merchant Lord Vertstadt.
Did he just call me Merchant Lord?
He did.
That is a new title. Perhaps, Master Halfling, perhaps.
Perhaps one day it will be. I do kind of like it, the ring of it, though. Merchant Lord Verdstadt. I can see it now, walking down the road, your pockets jingling with coin.
That is a nice image. One
and all
day.
the hot water you could want.
Yes, and all of the water.
At this point, Maple laughs audibly, but then waves his wooden spoon at you, Verstad, says, now get out to my kitchen, we got work to do. You're slowing us down.
Alright, Verstadt will leave the kitchen and try and find a tent that's not inhabited by a dead person as well.
Okay. You find one.
Nice.
Alright, it's gonna be dark soon. Dinner should be ready in the nearest bit. Risk, feel free to roll a cooking check if you'd like.
Alright, is it average?
Yes. Very successful. Wrist Maple is enthused to have you back, and even Fred grumbles out that he's that it's at least easier having a third pair of hands around. And the three of you are able to prepare a veritable banquet.
Alright, as we cook, I want to gossip with Maple about the different plants that I've had described that are edible up in the Hager cribs, and if he knows anything about them and their properties in cooking.
Roll a very easy gossip check. Oh yeah. He immediately lights up at you inquiring about his knowledge, and he is more than happy to tell you of the list of about 13 flora you were informed about by the apothecary. He gives you a pretty apt description of how to use roughly 6 of them as substitutes for spices that you're familiar with from the moot.
Oh, that is quite interesting.
He nods and says, oh yes, but I should warn you, despite the fact that the others are edible, I haven't found, well, let's just say they're a little oppressive on the taste buds.
Ah, that's a shame.
He nods and says, I'm sure there must be some dish they're working for. There's no way the gods would allow something that one could eat not to be used in some kind of dish. I just simply haven't figured it out yet.
Alright, I will gossip away as I peel potatoes.
Alright. At this point, dinner is finished, and the dinner bell rings out for everyone to come get their food. Everybody gonna eat?
Yep.
Elf?
Am I gonna eat?
Um,
Actually, I was gonna ask to Maple, could I get another serving? The elf is sitting outside Otto's door, hoping to catch him for some questions.
Maple looks you straight in the eyes, almost offended, and says, can I have another serving? He asks. What do you take me for? Some sort of ogre glutton that guards all the food?
Well, I mean, it's not for me.
He rolls his eyes and says, "She works here. Of course she can have a meal."
But, how long till we go back there to get the plates?
He shrugs and gestures at Fred and says, "Oh, Fred always gets those. I can't be arsed to be walking my way up that hill every day. It takes so much effort to just get up this stool."
Ah, well then, I will take the plates and hustle over to give one to Verve and set the other on the step.
Okay.
Thank you, Masterist.
Oh, you're very welcome. If you could, help me stay alive, I'd appreciate it.
I will blink at you and nod.
And the pantry's perfectly fine now that we've found all the food.
Well, that is definitely a plus.
Have what's the word? Elucidating time here on the step.
I will nod and smile.
All right. Dinner is delicious. You all greatly enjoy it. It is the best food you've had in a good bit. It's nice to have Wrist back at the helm, along with his two other halfling friends. But night starts to come on, and it's getting pretty late. Most of the soldiers start heading to bed. Rolf tucks in, and Elf, you actually see that Riemann is still patrolling the camp. Not at a military march, but he's definitely at a very brisk walk. Just he seems to be inspecting almost every single tent in the camp.
Don't care.
Okay. Around about 10 p.m. though, he does finish what he's doing, and as he gets to the center of camp, he glances in your direction, and he pauses, but then he heads out to his own quarters. All right, who all is going to bed?
I will.
Okay.
I will set myself up on the sacks as best I can, as comfortably as I can, and that is where I will be.
You're gonna lay on the sacks.
If
Okay.
if it's comfortable, yes.
It's not horrible.
The 15 jars of warpstone you're sitting on.
Birdstadt, what about you?
I'm going to find that tent with the non-dead person in it.
Okay. You end up having to
Um,
share it with someone, but he doesn't seem sick.
Awesome.
Taking a look around the camp, is there anyone up and chatting? Or has everyone gone off to bed or is sick coughing?
Most people seem to retire early. There definitely is not the merriment of gambling and dice games or any of that going on.
I do want to pop out for a bit and gossip with those who are up to basically see what they're talking about or if they're just sitting in silence.
Okay, you can do that. There's a few people who are still have to do night watch and be on patrol and stuff.
Oh, good evening. That Bisman business all been handled. I heard it was quite rough.
The swordsman you're talking to nods and says, "It was a disaster. We were ambushed. Horrible lot. They just came flying into our flank during a storm. Tore us a new arse, they did."
Ah, that's rough. I was out in that storm, just north of Jettenberg. Was really quite an awful thing. You were out in the open the whole time.
He nods and says, "Well, we had the cover of the trees, but it was pretty rough. We didn't see them coming at us until it was too late. Thankfully, we had Riemann and Rolf with us, and Rolf got the company back organized into a defensive hold while Riemann held off their cursed champion, or whatever it was, some big behemoth."
Oh, seems like Riemann did a good job without his horse.
He nods and says, "Aye, lad's too young by half, but he can handle himself in a fight, I'll give him that, even if he is an arrogant prick."
Well, I understand that's what the nobility is like.
He does nod and frowns at you and says, "Any idea what's Wait, were you? You said you were north of Jettenberg. Did you go through town?
Oh, yeah, we were stopped there for a little while. Raymond sent one of us off after to get a new horse. And so we spent some time up there. There was a big hunt, ended in disaster, just like your foray into the woods when the big storm hit and beastmen came out.
He chuckles and shakes his head, but then leans forward before looking around. He says, "The people in Jettenberg, are they getting sick too?"
Haven't seen them getting sick yet, but there's a whole lot talking about bad stuff going around. Some lady wandering around with death following her and that kind of thing, ranting men in the streets with cages on their heads. Plus, I hear the von Bruners are calling down the witch hunters again.
He sighs and leans back and says, "Anders is calling in witch hunters? I mean, I guess
I don't think it's Anders. It's one of the heads of the family. It sounded like."
He frowns, moderately perplexed, but just sort of nods along with whatever you're saying.